I just finished building this new and improved outpost base, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to build it. Throughout the video I will be sharing building techniques that I've learned through over 1,000 hours of playing time, so even if you don't build an exact replica of this structure, you will still pick up plenty of building tips that you can apply to your own builds. On a side note, if you would prefer just to download my world files directly, you can find all of my builds over on Patreon, where I upload a variety of free and paid exclusive content. With all that said, enjoy the video. The first thing you'll have to do is clear a large area that is 40 wide and 40 deep. Once you've done that, you're going to be left with a space that looks like this. Mark out where you want your entrance to be. Now I'm going to have mine in the center of the build, and then just mark out this small C shape with the grausten floor 2x2s. If you're not using grausten, you can use stone floors throughout this build. It does not make a difference, and it's really just a matter of preference. And then all I've done is grab the grausten stairs and placed 2 in the middle here, and this is going to sort of mark our entrance. From here, grab a wood pole 1 meter and place it on the corner of the C, and then we're going to use the grausten wall 4x2s, snap into a top center point, and we're going to mark out the extents of this base. So from there we'll come out 4, then we'll go back 10, and then we're going to have 10 along the back of the base, we'll have 10 down the opposite side, and then back into the middle 4 to the entrance. When you get back to the start, it should look like this. You can take out the wood pole 1 meter, and then using the grausten wall 2x2s, I'll just place down one of these at each side of the entrance and have the little space here for a double door. Now I do actually want the exterior wall to be slightly higher than this, so I'm going to go back around now with the grausten wall 4x2, sort of staggering these blocks like this, which means that when we get to the corners, we're going to have the grausten wall 2x2. And then we'll switch back to the grausten wall 4x2 and then go all the way around the build once more. So we've now got the exterior wall. It's time to set down some floors. I'm going to use the grausten floor 4x4 and lock on to the center of this C shape that we made at the front here. Now we're basically going to fill out the whole thing, but one point I do want to note is that the first 2 rows we're going to have all the way down, and then we're going to have like a courtyard area just here. So I'm going to mark that out first, and then I'm going to fill out the rest. The shape I want is going to be, I think, 4x4. So, well, I guess it would actually be 16x16, but using the grausten floor 4x4s, it's 4x4. So I think that's sort of a good enough size for the courtyard. Now with this little 4x4 courtyard marked off, we can go ahead and fill in the rest of this space with the grausten floor 4x4s, or like I said, stone floors or whatever else you might want to make the bottom of your base. So now with the floor laid out, I'm going to start marking out the footprints for the structures I'm going to have. Using the wood wall half, I'm going to mark out 7 wood wall halves. So this would obviously be 4, this would be 6, and then 7 would be here. So let's start to mark this off. And it's going to be 7 wide and 7 deep. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have 2 coming in, we'll have 2 for the door, so I'm going to leave them empty for now. And then we're going to have 3 on this side, like this. For the second building, we're going to have, again, 2, and then 2 spaces for the door. And then we need to have a wood wall half just here after the 2 spaces for the door, so I'm just going to create a snap point, and then I'll delete this wall again. As you can see, that leaves us lined up exactly with the front of the courtyard. So again, we'll have 2 spaces for the door, and then we'll go all the way along the front here to mark out the rest of the last structure. For the interior walls, we're going to have a small arch on the inside here. Leave 2 spots for that, and then we'll have 3 walls at either side, just like this. So now that we've got the footprints of all the buildings laid out, we're going to need to start adding in the sort of structural components that are going to hold the roof up. Now I'm going to use the grausten medium pillars, grab a top center locking point, and I'll just start in this middle bit between the large back building and what's going to be the kitchen. Switching now to a bottom center snapping point, we're going to have 2 of these. We'll have a grausten medium arch. And then I think I'm probably going to have a little bit of scaffolding for the rest of the structure. So jumping up back to the medium pillar, let's go with a bottom locking point. And I'm going to come up another, I think probably 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 on both sides. Back to the medium arch, let's try and get a lock on a snapping point. That works, that one seems to do well. And then I will switch to the grausten small pillar. the bottom center locking point on the bottom arch. Let's come up 3, grab the small arch, top center locking points, and just make a little bit of detail like this. Now, because these are heavy building components, these are going to support the roof really well, especially for this sort of long span that's going to go all the way wall to wall here. But we are probably going to need one of these on either side as well. So I'm going to build one in the center line here, and also on the back wall there. When you're done, it should look like this, and we've got one on this side as well. We're now going to focus on putting these arches in sort of where the other peaks of the roof are going to be. So we're going to have one at these doors here. It's going to be very similar, but they will be slightly different heights. Let me just grab a wood ladder to get a better look at this. We'll come 2 up, and then we're going to have, again, we'll have the arch. So we could place that in here. But what I want to do is kind of create a half locking point. So I'm going to use the grausten medium beam here, and then I will grab the medium pillar again. Let's grab a top locking point of some description. It's really hard to see here with this arch. Take that out, but you can see this one it's not all the way up, because that would be at this height. So it's kind of halfway up here, and that's exactly where we want it to be, just like this. We're going to have the arch at a point of just 2 up. So you can see here, it's locking onto the top of this one. Putting in the other side, and the way you should be able to tell if these are in the right places, because you're going to have this sort of protrusion here. From here, we'll go back to the grausten medium pillar, and we're going to want to be another 2 high on top of this height here. Back to the grausten medium arch. And then again for detail, using the grausten small pillar, bottom center, back to the small arch from the top center snapping point, and then one like this. Obviously, because of the height, there's only going to be 1 small arch here rather than the 2 on these ones, but that looks fine just like this in my opinion. I've done the exact same now on the wall straight behind this arch, and then I'm going to do the exact same in the space that we've left open here. Now, the only difference with this one's going to be is that after we've locked in all these points, same as we've done here, rather than coming 2 above this, so previously I came 2 above that, made the arch, and then that would give me these designs, but here I'm going to come 3 up after that. If I go back to the medium arches now, I need to find the spot 2 high. Once I've got the first spot in position, I can kind of use that to place the second one. And then I can place the one on the top, either side, small pillar underneath. And I think 1's probably going to have to be enough here again. Am I going to fit 2 in? I don't know, maybe I will. Place in 1 or 2, depending on how good you think it looks. Make sure they're straight though. I think that looks pretty cool, so let's keep it like that. Once it's done on the back one here, you can see this is directly in line with the front. All we need to do is add in a really simple arch for the entrance to this building. Now this is just going to be 2 grausten medium pillars and then 2 grausten medium arches like this. And last but not least, in the back left corner, we're going to have a small arch around the hearth that's going to be here. So I need this to be 5, or I guess 10 meters in, so that's going to be 4, this will be 8, this will be 10. So I'm just going to create this snapping point here because it's not going to work otherwise. Into miscellaneous, let's pop the hearth in, making sure it's flush with the back wall. And then we could take out all of these, I guess, construction points. Replace the grausten wall if you have to. From here, we're going to have the grausten medium pillars. I'm going to lock on from a bottom center point, just on the corners of the hearth. Now, we're not actually going to be using this for the cauldron or anything like that, so it's pretty much just for the light and the decoration. I'm going to come, I think, 4 up, like this, and then we'll have the grausten medium arch at the top. This is going to help support the roof and also just make a bit of detail in this middle structure. So if I look at the structure from the front left of the outpost now, you're going to see all the arches are in place and all the doorways are in place. So now basically the only thing to do now is build up all the walls, put the roof on and furnish it, which probably sounds a lot worse than it actually is. Okay, so I'm going to start with the wood walls. In the back left, we're going to have every second one as a single window. That's going to leave us with a shape that looks like that. No windows here on this side or here. And we are going to have a small window just at this spot here. We'll have another exact same on the opposite side. Make sure that when you're placing down these windows, especially next to the grausten beams, you're actually going into the middle. So this looks like it's in the right place, but it's actually not, because you can see there's only 1, 2, 3 slats of wood there. There should be 4 for a full-size block. Slightly easier to see now, but what I mean is that there'll be 4 wooden slats like this in a full-size wood wall. We're going to have a double window at the front here. This is going to be where our hot tub is. On the inside walls for the bedroom area, all of this is just going to be completely boarded up. We can go ahead, place that in. And then I can go back with the wood wall half, find a good bottom snapping point, we'll come back along the front. Obviously, this section here, I kind of just want to leave it open, because if I place one across, you're going to see it in the gaps. And then back along the front again at the double window side. I'm going to do the exact same along all the other walls that we've placed in on the outside faces of the houses. When we get to these arches that look a little bit awkward in shape, we're going to use the wood wall inverted, so it sort of doesn't impede underneath the arch. And then again, wood wall halves all the way along the front until you're left with this. Okay, so I think so far there's been a lot of back and forth trying to build everything at the same time, but I don't really think that's going to work too well going forward now. So what I want to do is focus on this bedroom, and then we'll go building by building until it's all complete. Just above the grausten wall, I want this to be fairly open to the light, so I'm going to use the ashwood decorative windows just to go along the front of the structure like this. Jump back to the wood wall halves, back here, and then on this section in the middle, I want the bottom to be covered, but I don't want the top to be covered. So I'm going to create a snap point with the wood pole 2 meters. So this is basically snapping from this joint here and up through and creating a point here. And then I will use the wood wall half on the bottom snapping points. I guess actually the inner bottom. And then we'll have that one on either side. Delete the snapping point, and then back to the wood wall halves for this side. So because I'm building this from memory, I can't actually remember exactly all the points. I'm going to place in the ashwood decorative windows just along this side here as well. But I think this might end up changing later, so this is kind of just a construction point to let us do the roof. And then if I jump up to that level, I'm going to grab the wood floor 1x1s. And actually, can we just create a snapping point here? Yeah, so I've just made a little scaffolding, but actually we want the wood wall 1x1s to be on the outer face. If you've watched my other videos, this won't be anything new to you. I do this in pretty much all my builds just to create a little overhang with the roof. And we'll jump onto the wood wall 26 degree from this outer point. Let's see how many we can go up before we hit the top. Okay, so let's say we're going 4 up. Let's do that on both sides. We're going to have a small gap at the roof, but that's okay. We're going to fill that with the wood roof cross 26 degrees. If we take the wood wall 26 degrees back down the other side, sort of end up with something that looks like that. So all I'm going to do now is basically fill in all these gaps, similar to what I've done before. I'm just following the paths upwards, and I'll fill in any of these gaps with the wood wall 1x1. Looks like we do have some gaps towards the top. Let's see if we can fill this in with these blocks instead. So instead of the 1x1s, let's choose the wood wall 26 degree inverted. And I think even for this top one, we can probably just snap in a regular wood wall half along the top there. Now with all these in place, we can basically just go back with the shingle roof 26 degree. I like to create a little overhang on the outside of the structure here. All the hard work's done. We can basically just follow the exact outline we've already created with the wood wall halves. We're going to have a shingle roof ridge 26 degree on the top and shingle roof components everywhere else. Okay, now with the roof done, it's going to look like this. Unfortunately, I had some sort of structural integrity issues on this side. You can see these points here are quite red, which means they're not going to be able to support much. I ended up just removing this block that was here too, but we are going to have a chimney exactly here on the other side, so this is not that big of an issue for us right now. When we get on to do the roof of this sort of adjacent structure, we're going to work out what we can do here to support these roof pieces and create a chimney. So at this point, I'm going to basically do the whole bedroom, because I think if I just do all this sort of walls and roofs, it's going to get quite boring for the rest of them. So I'm going to sort of design this interior and exterior as I go.
And what I want to do in the bedroom is have a sort of black marble headboard. So I'm going to create this with the 1x1s and the 2x1s. I'm going to have something like this. And this is 3 blocks in, 3 meters in from the outside wall. Then on this side, we're going to have another 3 meters. And then we're going to create a little, I guess, interior wardrobe. Inside the wardrobe, I'm going to have a throne of my choice. I think I'm just going to go with the stone throne. And actually, I'm going to have the Yule tree as well. Though I do recognise that it's kind of the time of year when I'm actually uploading this video that, you know, you could have the Yule tree out and it wouldn't look strange. So you can place that somewhere else for your comfort. Close this off with the wood gates. And then I'm going to have 2 ashwood windows like this. I have 2 on this side. Let's go ahead and place in a rug of your choice. I'm going to use the Locks rug. I think it always just looks better for some reason. And then I'm also going to create a space for a secondary player, which a lot of you guys have been asking for recently. You said that a lot of my builds are only suitable for 1 player. So if I can include places where you can get a second bed in, then that would be great. So let's do that. Again, I'm going to stick with the Locks rug. Of course, it has to be the dragon bed. Let's place one of these in. Something that I'm quite interested in doing for the round table is basically opening this up. I'll grab the round table. I'll sort of keep this in line with the wall. Have it like this. Then if I go back to the wood wall now and close this off, I'll do the same on the other side. Just for symmetry, you don't obviously need this for the comfort. We also need to place in a banner, so actually I'm going to start removing these because I don't actually like how they look. I'm going to go back to the wood wall and let's just see if we can make something sort of a little bit decorative here. Grabbing the wood door now, the ashwood beam, I'm going to use the snapping point from the wood door, and that's going to basically bring this ashwood beam out into the room a little bit more. Let's create a frame with the ashwood poles, and then with the miscellaneous, we're going to the raven adornment, create something like that. Close this along, and then it does look a little bit strange at the edges, so let's go ahead and place it down the side of the black marble as well. Get rid of the door there. And I don't know, I think we're probably just going to go with the wood wall half all the way down this side, so let's just do that. The good thing about this, and the reason that I did it, is now that when I take this along with the ashwood beams, take this all the way along the top. And I guess I could also put a trim on this little wardrobe. But the main reason I did that is because when I want to go back to the furniture, now we have a really good overhang. So now, if I place it directly on the wall, you'd see all these slats through from the wooden wall. Now I'm going to use the ashwood beam above just to pull this out a little bit. Looks so much better. Same on the other side. We can use the lava lantern. Let's pop one up here. And let's see if we can do a little bit of detail with maybe like the stools. 2 of these on each side of the bed like this. The lava lantern doesn't actually have that much range, so I'm going to place one on this side of the room as well, just to make sure that whoever's on this side of the room has a decent amount of comfort. They're not going to get all the benefits that the sort of main bed would get. The main bed obviously being the one right next to the hearth and the Yule tree and the stone throne, but they are still going to get a reasonable amount from this side. We'll pop down a little personal chest. And now that we have the dragon beds in place, I can actually get rid of these torches, because one place I really like to put the torches when I have the dragon beds is just in the bottom of the post like this. Okay, so I put some wood in the hearth next door, and I can see that I have a 15 comfort level, which means that I'm still missing some things. One of these things is the armor stand. What I wanted to do was basically create a space where 2 players can have armor on show. So you've got 5 there. Obviously I'm not going to put anything on these right now. That takes us up to 16. It means we're still missing a couple. One of them is the hot tub. We're going to place it in this sort of open section here. But I do want it to be closely centered. So let's see what we can do using the half door locking points to get this locked in place. I always find bottom lock point 7 is pretty good for the hot tub. Always just works well for me. And it doesn't always go directly in the center, but you can see here that this is pretty close. So it's in the center that way. All we need to do now is sort of edge it forward a little bit so that the chimney of it can vent out a little bit better. So back onto bottom 7, see how far we can push it forward here. What does this look like? I actually think that's going to work pretty well. It could maybe even be like half a meter backwards, but this is going to work just fine. So let's lock this all off again. I'm going to use the ashwood decorative walls. Okay, so now the only thing we're missing is the maypole. I'm just going to create one. Obviously, if you're not using dev commands or some sort of mods, then you'll have to wait till the time of year to create a maypole. I think I might just... Did I just make it here? I think I probably can. So let's finish off this window as well. On the outside, I'm going to use the wood door. Then we'll grab the wood pole, 2 meters. And as you can see, I'm just sort of bringing this out from the structure. Wood shutters on either side. So it's important the wood shutters go in at this point. And I'm going to go inside, open them all up. And then what I like to do here is create a couple of little shelves. And then I'll grab the ashwood decorative windows. Now it's important you put the windows in last, because if you have the shutters closed, then you're not going to be able to open them with this in place. But because it's just decorative, I'm not going to be opening and shutting these shutters. I like to have it just like this. Actually, do it one better. Let's put a little wood roof cross on the top. Similar idea on this side, double section here. So let's go ahead with the wood roof cross, create a double over like this. And then I'm actually just wondering if I can create with these wood floor 1x1s a sort of shelf here that just covers out all the detail that we don't really need. And I think it doesn't seem to be affecting the hot tub, so I think we're good. The shutters don't really work on this one. They're only going to be sort of halfway, I guess. Even if you put them in the middle with 2 layers, they're going to sort of cross over into each other. So I'm just going to leave it like this for the hot tub section. Okay, so I think this room is pretty much done now. I'm going to add in a few of the Diverga wall lanterns, so one on either side here like this. And maybe I'll just add in a couple more iron torches. Okay, so we're happy with this room. And also looks good from the outside. The only other thing would be potentially just to put a trim on this outside section of the roof. So this building is pretty much done now. All I noticed is that the hot tub smoke was kind of getting caught at the top of the roof here. So I've taken out this roof piece. I've moved back the cross a little bit. Then all I've done is taken a shingle roof ridge and locked onto this side. So it's kind of a bit of an overlap in this spot here now. You can see there's one piece here, one piece here. They're kind of overlapping. The only other thing I need to do is create the door. So with the auto snapping points with the wood wall 1x1, come 3 up on either side. We'll have the wood wall half snapping point just here. And then I like to use the wood gates. I think the size of them just always works well. Put that in. I always leave the doors open. Okay, there we go. Next up, I'm going to tackle this huge sort of workshop and storage house. Because even though it's much bigger than the other ones, it actually is a little bit easier because it's not as intricate in the roof. It's kind of straightforward. So same as we've done previously, we're going to be creating these snapping points so that we can put in the wood wall 26 degrees from the inner bottom corners like this. Take out the wood poles, and then we can simply follow all the way around the outside with the wood wall halves. When you're done with the wood wall halves on top of the grausten walls all the way around, you can jump back up and work all the way along the front of the structure. And once you're done, you'll need to do the exact same at the back side of the structure. Once you're done, you'll have this ledge all the way along the back of the structure, and you can kind of see it all the way along the front of the structure there as well. Next up, wood wall 26 degrees, just sort of framing where the walls are going to go, all the way up to the top. And if I now go to the other side, I can bring this all the way back down, and because the arch is in the center of the structure, that's going to be lined up directly with the front there like that. So I basically just need to fill this space in. I like to keep it sort of in line with the ones beneath, so we're going to end up with something like that with the wood roof 1x1s. This one's the same problem we had before, so we're going to use the wood wall 26 degree inverted here. And then we're not going to do this on the middle section, but we are going to do it on the far side. Once you're done, you'll have the back looking like this, and then the other side looking like that. All there's left to do is jump back up top, grab your roof shingle 26 degree, make sure you got the overlap on the front like this, and then basically just follow the outline that we've already made all the way up the top. Shingle roof ridge 26 degree on the top, and do this all the way along the structure. One thing I would mention actually is that it is much better to do this particular part from the back of the structure, just because of this stone arch here. It actually does provide some support for the opposite side, just towards the middle center of this roof. So it actually sort of supports up and then over. So if you do it from this side only, you're going to get some bother in the middle of the span. When you're done, it should look like this. Obviously, you will need to leave a little bit of space to vent the smoke from the back hearth. So to create a simple chimney, it is going to be just a simple one. I'm using the wood wall 26 degree inverted, wood wall 26 degree up top. Then I'm just going to use the shingle roof 26 degree to create a simple chimney like this. Now it is simple, but I honestly think that when you have little simple details like this, you just do them well. I think they look good, to be honest. I don't think anything needs to be like too crazy. Simple is sort of doesn't take anything away from the rest of the structure, I guess is what I would say. What I'm going to do is create a sort of opening here, just to create a little window. I guess this is probably, you might feel like this is undoing some of the hard work you've just put in, but in the bottom center now, better bottom center snapping point with the shingle roof inner corner. Back to the shingle roof 26 degree. And then you'll need to start here with the wood beam 2 meters along the bottom, because if you do the angled one first, it won't let you place in the wooden beam on the bottom for some reason. So it needs to be that order, wooden beams, and then if you've got a section that sort of overlaps with the wood beam 26, that needs to go last. Miss out 2 spots, and then I'll take out another 4, 2 at the top, and I have added a straight wooden beam along the top just to add an extra bit of detail. This one sort of interferes with the chimney, but I've just basically ignored this spot and done it as normal. And I think actually it's a nice little bit of detail that sort of just adds in a little bit more light into the build. So this room is going to be your workstations and storage. So this is going to be a fairly simple room to do after we've put in the storage. All I'm going to do firstly is with the wood wall halves, I'm going to mark out where I want my workstations to be. So I think this is going to be the forge. On the opposite side, I'm going to have the workbench. And then in the center of the room, I'm going to have sort of everything else. So I think maybe we place this here. So this is just using the locking point from this grausten plate. I think if we... That's a little bit too small. We'll have something like this. And we'll leave a full grausten floor, 4x4 at the back. And then we'll move maybe 2, 3 along like this. And yeah, we'll have something like this. Maybe like this. So it's a bit of a zigzag pattern. This might end up changing, but just to sort of mark out the shape for now. What I do want to do is create these windows. So we're going to do the exact same thing we did before using the wooden doors. Need to make sure that they are locked out, and then we'll have the wood roof crosses along the top. I'm going to use these just to sort of mark out all of the spots, and then I'm going to delete all the ones in the middle as well as the wood door. Go back to the wood pole 2 meters now, locking all these side ones, and then we'll also have the wood beam 2 meter along the bottom. The shutters go in, then you have to go inside and open all the shutters. After that, we'll use the wood floor 1 meters to create a little shelf on the outside. Now we can go back along with the ashwood decorative window. We'll place that in, and then actually on this last one here, I'm just going to close this off. So it's going to be like one of those fake windows that you see on structures sometimes. It still looks really good, but it basically doesn't have anything there. I think this looks good. From the inside, it looks good too. I'm going to create a small sort of, I guess, shelf that runs all the way along. This is just decorative, but adds a little something to the structure. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do one of these storage compartments, and then you're basically going to have to do all the rest yourself, but it's going to be just a repetition all the way around. Okay, so let's think about the easiest way to do this. I think the easiest way is probably just to create all the snapping points that you need. So I'm going to do 3 layers of storage. That's going to need 3 of these wood floor 2x2 shelves. You'll notice here that I've got these shelves with the lines pointing sort of towards me, and then I've got the, fill this up on the other side, the wood wall halves like this, and then if I just grab a reinforced chest, I like to jump on top of it, and then all I'm doing is placing it inside, starting at the top, lining it up with the wood floor lining on the bottom, same again here, and just to keep things exactly the same all the way down, I add a wood floor on the bottom there as well. Then we've got the reinforced chest. You can go back, grab the ashwood beam and just sort of make this look a little bit prettier. And then I think what we'll do is we'll probably place down an ashwood pole 2 meter like this. And you don't need to do this on every single one. but I'm going to use these little ledges here as a spot to place down an iron torch. So I'm going to have the iron torch right into the corner like this, and that means that when I go back with the ashwood pole 1 meter, snap it in, that's sort of built in there like this. If you've got a storage compartment that's like on the end, so it's going to be visible, like in here for example, I'm going to have storage, it's going to be visible from here. You might want to just take your ashwood beam and sort of tie it off like this and have the wall here. If you've got 2 storage compartments working together, you might need to use these walls just to get the snapping location for the shelves, but you can just take these out later to save a little bit of wood. Okay, so when you're done building out the storage, you should end up with something that looks like this. Now you can use less or more storage if you want to. This is just the arrangement that I've decided on. Then in this sort of back corner here, I'm going to place down the workbench. So I'm going to put the workbench just sort of in the center here, and I'm going to see which workbench improvements I can sort of hide in the back. Now I always find this workbench improvement is a little bit too large to work with, and then if I grab the wood floor, place it along the top, and I'll basically make use of that space to place in a few of the other improvements. So like this tanning rack for example, place that up at the top there, place the tool shelf on this side, maybe the chopping block can just kind of go down the side there. Okay, so that should have a maximum level workbench, and it does. On the other spot here we're going to have the forge, so let's go ahead and place down a forge. Place it down like this. Now the forge has a few improvements which I like to hide because they're just a little bit too big for my liking, so I'm going to have the bellows in on the right and the smith's anvil there too. Again, I'll place down the roof just in case I want to place anything up top, and then I can hide these objects at the back. So here I'm going to add in a little shelf on the right hand side, and here I will have the smaller anvils, so just these anvils here. Hopefully I can fit this grinding wheel just underneath. Okay, so I've slightly had to rearrange the bellows and the anvil down the back. Hopefully the grinding wheel works a little bit better there. Okay, got that at the side. Then I've got the forge cooler that can just go here, and then if I barricade this back up again, hopefully the forge tool rack can go somewhere along this wall. Now it looks a little bit strange without the ashwood going along the top, so let's do that there, and then again above this section here. So in this little section in the middle, we're basically going to have all the rest of the workstations. Take out these torches now, and I'm going to start with the Galder table. So get it facing where I want it to be, sort of diagonally towards me. Take out these blocks. Let's see if we can aim sort of at this cross here. Looks like it's going to be sticking out too far at the left here, so maybe I'll just bring this in a little bit. And what I like to do with the Galder table is sort of create this little wood beam 1 meter using the door. So as you can see here, I've basically got it in the middle of this block. And the reason I've done that is so that I can grab the rune table here. Let's actually place it on the opposite side. We'll place it as close as we can to the Galder table. Somewhere like that. And what that's going to allow us to do is when we sort of barricade this back up, because it's just ever so slightly raised, it's going to come through the black marble really nicely like that. So let's board this back up around the Galder table, like to what we had before. With the Galder table we can put the wreath on the back side of it like this, and then we'll have the unfading candles, and we'll sort of place them as close as we can to the Galder table here. So now for the artisan table, I realise I've actually made this a little bit too short, so I'm going to extend this a little bit, and then place down the black marble 1 by 1 just there. And then because we've placed the rune table quite close to the Galder table, we should have enough space to place down the artisan table here, and also the artisan press. So I like to sort of have these pushing against each other so that the gears look like they're working together. So I guess something similar to that. I think that looks pretty good, and there's plenty of space still to move around there. So taking out this torch, we're moving on to the black forge now. I want to kind of have the black forge, some of it sort of coming through the table like this. So need to take out the black marble first, and I think something like this might work. You're just going to have to sort of do this trial and error. I have done it a few times now, so getting slightly better at placing it. And then the hardest part for the black forge is going to be getting all these attachments to sit in nicely. Right, so let's get the metal cutter as far away from the table as we can, but it's going to sort of interfere with the opposite ones. We're going to have the black forge cooler just up the back. Now the device should just go at the side here, and then I'm going to basically create a little desk at the side for the gem cutter. So using the ashwood arched walls, I've placed in sort of some curved details. Now using the 1x1, and then if we go to the gem cutter, hopefully I can just get this to place in like this. And just so it looks a little bit more realistic, I'll place in the little darkwood chair too. Kind of darken this section, so let's see if we can take out a corner and place in a torch. And then of course we need to place down the archwood arched wall back into place. Okay, and I think that's all the attachments we need for the black torch. Last but not least, we need to fill out this area with some of the locked rugs, my rug of choice. The only thing we possibly could do here is just place a little bit more decoration next to the window. And then just with the darkwood chair, sort of place down a couple. And the only thing we need to do before moving on is this little back corner. I'm going to grab the ashwood decorative windows, place down a little spot, and then we'll grab the spinning wheel and just have that sort of placed here so that anything coming out falls into this little cage. We've got the ashwood decorative window coming along the top here. And then, only because it's a little bit dark at this corner, I'm going to have the iron torch basically place it right up against the grausten medium pillars on both sides. And then because of the lock points with the grausten medium pillars, I should be able to lock in these ashwood pole 1 meters fairly easily. And just sort of have some lights like this. I've added in a couple of darkwood gates at the front. This is probably the only place that the darkwood gates actually work, but they look pretty cool, so might as well use them. Okay, for this final bit of roof, you can see here, if I went straight to the wood wall 26 degrees, we're actually too close to the arch for it to go up and over the top. So I need to grab the wood wall halves, raise it up one, and then I'm going to go ahead with the wood wall 26 degree, come 2 up again. This is the standard at this point. Put the cross on the top, go back to the wood wall 26 degree, and remember here we're actually locking in directly to the top, not onto the edge of the wood roof cross, all the way along the top, fill in these gaps. And that's going to be a really simple little roof. So I'll show you again on this side. We're basically building all the way up, locking down on the top, grab the wood wall half, bridge this gap on both sides, and then the cross just goes on the top there. Up on the roof we will need to create the snapping point, so just using the wood floor 1x1, pulling it out one. This is basically just so it's in line with the other roofs. So really simple. We've got 2 line of shingle roof 26 degree on this side and 3 rows of it on this side. I've left obviously this big section in the center here. We need to try and work out what we're going to do for the chimney. So with the chimney, like I said, I'm building this from memory now, so I can't really remember exactly what I had before, but I think I've kind of worked out a way in which this could work. So I'm going to use the wood wall 26 degree inverted, the wood wall 26 degree on top of that, and then we'll sort of carry the wood wall 26 degree inverted downwards. We'll have the wood wall 26 degree in the exact same spot, and then we're sort of going to bridge this gap with the wood wall half. And then if I go ahead with the shingle roof 26 degree, it's basically filling along the top of both of these. I think that it should basically work like that. So from inside of the bedroom, I've basically closed off the rest of this roof now, and so that we have a little bit of like smoke detail, I'm going to keep this uncovered. I will go up with the ashwood pole 1 meter and maybe just along the top as well. So now we should be able to see through a little bit there, but it's not too obvious and the smoke's not going to come into this room now. Okay, so this section should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to have 2 wood wall halves, miss 2 for a sort of little bit of entrance, and then we'll have another 2 going back into the back. We're going to have this little cupboard here for a little bit of kitchen storage. And then inside this area that we've just cordoned off, we're going to go ahead and grab the... Where are they? There we go, the stone ovens. So we're going to have 2 of these in. Unfortunately, it's kind of awkward with the grausten walls to position it. It just doesn't really work with these for some reason. Luckily, we're not actually relying on these structurally, so they can come out sort of prematurely whilst we just pop these stone ovens in. So now that they're in place, go ahead and fill this all up again, but obviously there is 2 walls that we need to do from the outside later on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now with the wood wall Here we can see one of the openings, the other one's going to be kind of closed off. And that goes all the way around the back, and then on this side of the stone oven. Now the stone ovens don't actually need to vent in order to continue working, so I'm not going to bother to vent them here. The ashwood windows, that's going to sort of show us what's going on, but like I said, the ovens are still going to be working regardless. Some more ashwood windows, and then similarly to what I've done with the storage, I'll have these ashwood poles like this, and then I will be using these just with the standing iron torch just on top. Sort of locking them in against the walls. This just for a little bit of extra light. Okay, actually the ashwood beams are a little bit too much, so let's just take them out. And now we've just got the little stone oven bit, and basically the main reason I did this is because I don't like the doors going off all the time, so I've kind of just put them in their own little section there. Hopefully it doesn't really interfere with too much. So now with the recent bog witch update, we have a few more things that we need to sort of prepare for. We're going to have the food preparation table. I'm just going to put it here right next to where we're going to need it. We've got the mead kettle, place that on the corner there, and then we'll get the cauldron. Where is the cauldron now? The cauldron just on the corner of the other side. Make sure you can reach both of those. You can grab a cooking station. I'm just going to use the wooden ones. Up two at the back of the cauldron on each side. And then the pots and pans can go just above the table on this side. The rolling pins and cutting board can go on this side. We've got the spice rack, plenty of room up the back there for that. Butcher's table by the window. And the mortar and pestle probably just go on this table here. Oh, it's not going to fit, so maybe... Where did I have it before? I think. Okay, so I've removed the cutting boards. Going to get the mortar and pestle here now. I think I definitely had them on the wall, but now I'm struggling. Let's put them above the window, that's going to work fine. Okay, so the little cooking area is done now. What I like to do now with, again, all the feasts and stuff that we get to do now, grab some furniture, grab a long heavy table, place it up by the wall here. Let's see if we can place through a few iron torches through the table. That looks good in that spot. Just here too. Then once you've actually got around to making some feasts, you can place a few feasts on this table. Just have them for people to use as and when you need them. Along the back wall, we're going to have a bunch of fermenters. Now you can actually put sort of storage underneath these fermenters as well. It is exactly the same as like the bottom row of the storage in there, but I don't really think that's necessary. I like to use the shingle roof sort of along the top like this, just to place the fermenters exactly in line with each other all the way along this wall. And I'll show you just how this works in a second. If you grab the fermenter, you're going to see it's interfering with the roof here, so we can't line it up exactly on that wood floor. But once you go back far enough, it's going to be fine. And you can basically use this as soon as it becomes okay to place. If you place it, then all of them just end up being exactly in line. The important thing here is just to make sure that you don't delete these fermenters when you're trying to delete the shingle roofs. I like to go along and place in some Deverger wall lanterns along the back. And then in this little nook, we're just going to place down some storage. And actually I've just remembered that I haven't bothered to place down roofs just above the ovens. We're going to need to do that, otherwise they are going to vent out. It's not going to be ideal. Okay, like I said, this is just going to be a little storage bit. I'm sure by this point you've done enough of them, so I don't need to show you how to do them again. Okay, so when you're done, the storage is going to look like that. Just for a bit of decoration, I like to place down a couple of round tables here. A couple of dark wood chairs, just to make it look like it's sort of been used, you know. Get the feasts back out, sort of place down a selection of feasts on these tables, and they're just there for eating whenever you need. So now just to add in a little bit more decoration, we're going to use the wood door. We'll grab the wood pole 2 meter, and as you can see, we're just coming out ever so slightly against the wall. Add in some of these sort of bracing shapes. I'm going to place down a couple of wood wall halves here, and I'm basically just using this so that I can place down the grausten tapered pillar, locking it onto the top. And we'll have one in the corner, and then we'll have one here which is kind of going to be like an entrance. So here, depending on what your... So at this point here, depending on how easy it is for you to walk up and down here, you might need to add in a couple of stairs. Then we can also add in grausten beam sort of along the front here, just to separate this path area from the courtyard area. In the centre of the little courtyard, I want to have a tree. So I'm going to have a birch tree here. go ahead, find the center of it, mark 4 out, which is going to be the center of this point too. And then I like to have the birch tree, so I'm just going to zoom in so I get a good look at it. Place the birch tree down there. And the birch tree doesn't need that much space, so it's not going to actually interfere with anything. This should just grow absolutely fine. And then other than that, we just need to add in like some decorations for this courtyard. So I've just decorated this area with a cart, some benches, beehives, a couple of stacks of portal, and obviously my tree's grown now, so it's looking a lot better. This area here isn't just sort of for nothing, it's meant to be a little furnace area for you. Now, I feel like now with the torches just being able to burn coal, you don't really need any kilns, so I just have a blast furnace here and a couple of smelters. Now, obviously you are going to need a nitro refinery at some point, but you can just shift this down and you can actually make like a black marble like storage area here for the nitro refinery that won't damage anything else. So popped on a little arch for the entrance. Now that we have these smaller barrels, I like to use the fermenters as decoration. So you see we have like a fermenter here, but then we've got like maybe a couple of barrels on the outside. Now the only thing we'd really need to do is add on a few more bits of detail. I've added on a trim on all of these wooden roofs, especially on the outside of the structure I've missed previously. Then on the outside it does look a little bit bare, so let's just add in a little bit of detail here. Grab the wood door and we use that to place in like an iron gate. Means you can see out at the same time as looking in. And then obviously with the cage walls, you can basically just bridge all these gaps here, 2 along the top, and also on the outside. I think that looks really good. Then the only other thing is like grabbing these medium pillars and just sort of periodically along the build, we'll come maybe 3 up, grab a tapered pillar, and slot it in like this. I think this makes it look much better, and depending on how much materials you've got, you can sort of work around and do as much or as little as you like. Maybe even just like at the entrance, then at the corners would be enough. I think these ones in the middle do make it look good as well. So if you made it this far, you now know how to build this specific outpost base. Hopefully you learned a few things along the way. If you did, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this when I release it. And just remember that all of my builds are available on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.